Welcome to Talking Story. My name is John Minton. When I first started this channel, I said I was going to do my best to catch up with the Cosmere. And getting back to that today, I have finished Mistborn Era 3. So I want to get into a full-scale review of this series, the whole trilogy. And no spoilers, I'm going to try and keep it free of spoilers. And just like always, my reviews work on a basic 5-star system. We're going to go through world building, character, plot, pace, and prose. Each of these categories get either from anywhere from a quarter star to a full star, and then we add all that up at the end, and that's what the score will be. So let's get right into it with world building. Think about it. World building. This is exceptional. Brandon Sanderson was inspired, he said, by thinking like Frodo makes it up to the top of Mount Doom. He's exhausted. He's about to throw the One Ring into the flames, and Sauron pops up and says, "My guy, I've been looking for this everywhere. You didn't have to bring it all this way, but thank you so much." The Dark One wins. What a great job he does at realizing this. The skies bleed ash nonstop. It collects in the streets and the waterways, on clothes. It seems as if the world itself is unraveling from the edges in and disintegrating. The Dark One that has ruled for 1,000 years has kept everything static. There's been no advancements in art, science. It's almost as if he's afraid to let people discover some things that he wants to keep hidden. Art is basically just realized in religious stained glass that the aristocracy has in their huge mansions that show achievements of the Dark One's deeds. At night, the fog rolls in and undulates around and twists and turns and encompasses everything. And the legends say that in the fog, there are things that could take your very life if they start to appear during the day. It's not a medieval world. There are towers that spiral up into the sky, but the way it was described, I saw like more of minaret type architecture. Think of like the backside of the Cathedral of Notre Dame, flying buttresses. It just an amazingly realized world with politics, actually lack of religion, because religion has just come to the praying to the Dark One that is ruling everything. It's such an amazing job of world building. Sucks you right in right away. On top of this, as always, the magic system. You have to talk about that when you're dealing with a Brandon Sanderson book. This may be one of my favorite magic systems I've ever read in fantasy of all time. It basically revolves around different type of metallic minerals, and people that have this ability can ingest little flakes of these metals and ingest them or burn them. And it can give most people, if they have an ability at all, it'll give them like one ability they can do. They can have strength, they can have healing, they can shoot different types of metal shards. They not out of their hands, but like coins or something.
So the last couple of months have seen us hemorrhaging money.
And then there's a very, very, very few that are Mistborn that can do all of these things, ingest all of these different types of metal, become super aware with hearing, sight. The list goes on, and in true Brandon Sanderson style, the journey along this 3-book path, what you find out about the magic system, I mean, it's so amazingly complex at the beginning, but by the end of this trilogy, what you know, how it works, and there are many ways. I don't want to blow too much, but you learn so much more on the journey than you do from the beginning. And the beginning is more complex than most magic systems I've ever read. So if you couldn't tell already, guys, world building, absolutely a full star. If I had more than a full star, I would give it. It's absolutely exceptional, giving you a playground for your mind to run rampant and visualize this amazing story that is put before you in this trilogy. So let's move on to character. Wow, character, guys. It's hard to pick a favorite. It just, the ones that come to mind so quickly, Kelsier, Elan, Vin, Sazed. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And these are just some of the main characters, but The amazing thing I found about this is, do you root for them? Absolutely. In true Brandon Sanderson style, again, is there a romance that you can't wait to happen? It's like you're watching an old Nora Ephron rom-com from back in the 90s. Just kiss already. He just keeps ramping up the anticipation of the relationship that you're rooting for so hard that when it finally does happen, it's just like this glow that comes about you. I see you, Brandon Sanderson. You, my friend, are a true romantic. I have read enough of your books to know you are smitten, my boy. You are a romantic, and it shows in your writing, and I'm absolutely there for it. So you root for these characters. You root for their relationships. You are crushed when they have to overcome tragedy. And he does not shy away from giving these characters very real world mental challenges to get over. PTSD, grief, survivor guilt, so many things that are so well portrayed and not just thrown in there, really, really looked at and dealt with. I mean, characters will have a journey that go through an entire book of self-doubt. It just gives the characters so much depth that he imbues them with not only physical challenge to get over, of course, which you're going to have in the fantasy genre, but also mental challenges that they're set up with, that they have to overcome. And it makes that journey with you. You're able to attach yourself to the characters so much more in a holistic way because they're dealing with challenges that we deal with in our everyday lives. It's absolutely done unbelievably. Character, again, full star. If I could give more than a full star, I would indeed give more than a full star. You will see character arcs from book to book. Book one, you will see character arcs from the beginning of the book to the end of the book for Kelsier, for Vin, for all of these main characters that you meet in this world. Book two, they'll have another arc that they go on this journey. And from book one to book two, they change. From book three, they're going to change again. A full character arc, book to book. And then when you factor in the whole trilogy where they ended up to where they started from, it's like you have gone through the wars with these people. You feel like they're your friends and family. You are so attached. Kudos, Mr. Sanderson. Full star. Let's go into plot. Now I'm going to try and keep it as vague as I possibly can. I don't want to do any spoilers, and it's kind of a challenge because going from book 1 to 2 to 3, there's things that happen in book 1 that set up 2 and 2 that set up 3. So I'm going to try and stay very, very vague. I know this is an incredibly popular series, and most people don't live under a rock like I do, so you probably have already read this, but just in case you haven't, I'm going to try and keep it extremely spoiler-free until I give you all fair warning at the end, and then I'm just going to let loose. Book 1, you go into that world where the Dark One is won, and he wanted to do like a heist story, and this is done so well. Kelsier, just out of incarceration, is putting his team together. Like, think Danny Ocean, but Kelsier is a Mistborn. So think Danny Ocean with like Marvel hero level powers.
You get the ice, I'll get the ice, man.
So Danny Ocean putting his team together to pull off the ultimate con. And what is this con? To overthrow the Lord Ruler that has ruled for 1,000 years. Is it possible? Can he get these people together? While putting a team together, he finds the young lady Vin, who he brings into the team, and she's going to be his woman on the inside that's going to these parties in these huge mansions to keep her ears open and let the team know what they're doing, if they are succeeding or not. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm a huge fan of the Ocean 11's fan. I'm a huge fan of The Long Con, and it's played so unbelievably well, not only because of the way it's structured and the twists and the turns, and there's always a plan B. Kelsier will tell you there's always more secrets, and he has so many secrets in his own head. When a plan doesn't come to fruition, he's got a plan C and a D and an E all the way to Z sometimes, and you never see it coming. I've read a lot of books in my time. I've seen a lot of shows, a lot of movies, and generally it's a third of the way through that I can kind of tell what's going to happen by the end. I did not see the end of this book coming. It was completely took me by surprise because the Khan becomes an entirely different type of story by the end because he has to go from plan to plan to plan. And I was floored. And then when I start thinking about it and going back, all the hints were there. You laid them all out. And that's all I'm going to go for book one. Book two, it's a dog that catches the car story. Our ragtag band is now in charge, and they've got to figure out how to lead. And the romance between Alind and Vin is flourishing. Alind is trying to learn how to be a king. In true Brandon Sanderson style, another theme that you see over and over again. If you have questions, if you have problems, go to the library, my friend. Look to the lore. Look to your ancestors. They will probably have the answers for you. So they're trying to figure out what was going on in book one with the Lord Ruler, how he was trying to hold things together. How do we not become him? And this power vacuum that they're trying to fill in the best way by another long-standing Brandon Sanderson theme, trying to build a more equitable, perfect world for your citizens. We want to fill this power vacuum so we can make it that way, but there's others that have different plans, and armies are amassing outside the city gates of Luthadel, which is the capital city in this world where the Lord Ruler sat on his throne. They're amassing out there. How do we keep them at bay? You know, in true Brandon Sanderson way, there's going to be an unbelievable climactic battle at the end. He does not disappoint. That's all I'm going to go into book two. Best if you go in blind. Maybe I've even said too much. Book three, everything wraps up with a bow. I don't even want to go into it too much. The characters come to complete fruition. All your hopes and dreams are there. There are battles. You will find religious epiphanies. You will find sacrifice. You will find everything you could want at the end of this book. And this is where I'm going to really gush about plot. And that is in his structure over the entire trilogy. In my creative life, I come from the theater, and there's a long-standing rule. Everyone that comes from the theater has done plays by Chekhov, and there's a long-standing rule from Chekhov. If you show a gun, if you see a gun in the early acts of a play, that gun better go off by Act 3. Oh, no. Or people feel like they're let down. Every gun Brandon Sanderson shows, every seed he sows through books 1, 2, beginning of 3, not only come to fruition, but they're harvested in the most amazing, twisting ways that you do not see coming. Even somebody as a jaded reader from years and years of reading this type of stuff, you don't see coming. They're so well structured, just all the way, every little thing that you're not even paying attention to, maybe like say somebody's earring that their mom left them with, why it has to pierce the skin, who put it there. All of these kind of things build together. All these things that people you thought were on one side, machinations and certain plans, they can be completely turned around by the end, and you absolutely buy it all because all of the hints were there. When you see the answers and you go back and look, it's like, how did I possibly miss it? It is structured with so much meticulous care that the payoff is huge. So plot, as if you couldn't tell, guys, I'm going to go another full star. So are we heading to a 5-star review? We got 3 so far. I'm going to go for pace. Now, pace is where I got held up in my first Brandon Sanderson read, which was Elantris. Fair play. A lot of people say don't start there, but I wanted to start with his First published so I could kind of see his growth as an author, and I'm so glad I did. It's paying off in so many ways now that I get to this trilogy. To see the ground that he's traveled as an artist just thrills me. Pace. Let's look at it. Is this where it's going to get tripped up again? No. He learned his lesson from Elantris. Elantris, the pace died down a little bit for me. When he got into the political intrigue, it died down a little bit, and then it had this bang of an ending. He learned his lesson in that through books 1 to 2 to 3. He peppers these books with these moments of unbelievable cinematic action throughout. That way, when you're having that Brandon Sanderson theme of get thee to a library to find out what's going on from the past, and why do you only trust things carved into metal, all these kind of great little mysteries. You have those mysteries, the epiphanies thereof, and the answers, which are thrilling, but you intersperse through those these moments of heroics and huge set-piece battles, sacrifice of character. He's got it so well dialed in to go to one from the other that the ups and downs, you're not waiting too long for any type of change in the narrative. They're coming at you fast and furious. The pace, he solved the problem from Elantris. I'm here to tell you, another full star for Pace. We're at 4 already. We got one more to go, and that's Prose. And this is where I had a bit of a problem with Mr. Sanderson and Elantris. And his prose stylings have come a long way by the end of this trilogy for where they started for me in Elantris. Is it still a no-nonsense, simple style? Absolutely. Does he throw SAT words around when he doesn't have to? Absolutely not. And why would he? Again, with a magic system like this, with a world like this, with a host of characters that are spread out, we've gone past the city of Luthadel into not only other cities all across this world, but also other races, and how they're all coming to save their world at the end. The stakes couldn't be higher. So the prose style is simple and straightforward because the material is so high concept. I think it has to be that way as a juxtaposition to not slow the reader down. And it does accomplish that. This is where I will take 1/4 star off. And this is just me personally, guys. My favorite fantasy of all time is Name of the Wind. I love a wordsmith. I love beautiful language. And if we could just have a little bit more of that, for me, this would have been an absolute 5-star, what I would consider top of Mount Rushmore of series of trilogies for me. I'm just going to take off 1/4 star because I could have done with just a little bit more beautiful language. I love me some purple prose sometimes, and Brandon Sanderson don't play that. And I respect it, and I see why. But for me, for my taste, I'm just going to take off a little 1/4 star here. So add all this up, guys. Where are we at for Mistborn Era 1? 4 3/4 star. 4.75. This is, I could damn near not find anything wrong with this. This is, for me, and you can see, I went out, I bought the cheapest reading copies I could find because I'm reading a lot of books lately. I got to get me some nicer copies of these to put on my shelf because this is now easily one of my favorite trilogies in the genre. So just another quick wrap-up thing for you. Right after I did read this trilogy, I grabbed my copy of Arcanum Unbounded and I read Secret Histories. And I know some people will say, oh my God, you made a huge mistake because there's spoilers from Era 2. You should have waited to read this. But you know what? I'm so glad I did not because I found it so amazing. While all of this is going on in this trilogy on the physical plane, you're by the end of book 3, you couldn't have higher stakes. The world itself is caught up in a battle between the metaphysical powers of preservation and ruin. You have all this happening on the physical plane with the characters you've come to know and love. when you get to Secret History, guys, you get to look behind the curtain and see through the eyes of a very friendly face you're happy to see again what's going on beyond the veil in the metaphysical world. What's happening? How are they trying to move pieces on the physical board? What they're trying to do as our departed to help us out. I found it absolutely thrilling. I know a lot of people say that Emperor's Soul is their favorite from this collection. This is overtaken for me by Secret History. For me, there's no other author that works on here's the physical story that's going on in the world, and it'll suck you in, and it's so exciting. And by the way, here's everything that's going on in the metaphysical, above and beyond that. I think that the only other author I can think of that does that is David Mitchell, and I love it when David Mitchell does it. I love it when Brandon Sanderson does it. So I was so happy I read it, and for me, I would. Whatever spoiler, I don't know what spoiler it takes away from Mistborn Era 2, but I'm glad I read it at this time. I really am. So now, I haven't even talked much about I would say, my easily, well, not easily because I love them all, but my favorite character of this entire series, Sazed. I'm going to get into him on the other side in some spoilery talk because I just have to. If you have not read this trilogy yet, sign off now because I'm going to blow some stuff real quick. But before you do, thanks so much for tuning in, hanging out with me. If you've read this, hey, drop me a line. Let me know what you think. Let me know what I should start with next. I've had some people tell me I should start with Stormlight Archive. I have some people say I should go right to Mistborn Era 2. I've had some people say I should go back and forth, the Stormlight, Mistborn Era 2, Stormlight, Mistborn Era 2. If you've got recommendations, I would love to hear them. If you love this as much as I did, I would love to hear that too. And as always, guys, you don't have to pick up Mistborn Era 1 and read it, but do pick up and read something. Thanks for joining me here on Talking Story. My name is John Minton. Like, subscribe. I'm going to see you on the other side for some spoilery talk. Okay, spoilery talk time. My guy Sazed. I know from reading about Brandon Sanderson that this is a person whose faith is very important to him, important enough that he did his missionary tour as a young man. So I know faith is important to him. And the recurring theme of faith and loss of faith and what does it mean, I was just blown away. It's always been a hiccup for me in organized religion that it seems like from doctrine to doctrine, people think they have a magic key. Subscribe to this religion. I give you the magic key to happiness and life everlasting. If you don't necessarily buy in, then I don't think I'll see you in the afterlife. That I was so hung up with this and still am over and over again. But as this scholar through the third book goes through every known religion that he can find in the history, looking one after the other, and the epiphany that he comes to is they all have a grain of truth, that there is some type of magic beyond us, that there is some larger mechanization to the universe than we can see, that there is truth to it. But it is as Socrates used to say, I'm the smartest man in the room because I'm the first to admit I don't know a damn thing. We can't encompass these answers, but there is truth to it. There's the epiphany. And then at the very end, guys, when these two unbelievable forces of preservation and ruin come together and the bridge that is able to tame them is a mortal scholar. Sazed reaches his hands out and bridges between these two and creates a new trinity that can create a new godhead amongst these shards that have broken off from this old godhead across these worlds. He, the scholar, is able to create a trinity because he has looked into all these religions and knows this basic truth. The philosophy of this just absolutely floored me. I loved it so much. It spoke to me personally. I absolutely just have to thank Brandon Sanderson for going there. And if there's dogma or proselytization in this trilogy at all, it is just that there is something beyond us, and who's to say what it is? The scholars shall lead, the scholars shall put their hands out and bridge. The only bridge that can exist between these powers will be the people that seek truth and are open enough to seek truth. Guys, absolutely floored by it. Absolutely floored by it. Drop me a line if you were as well. The philosophy of it alone, by the ending, it's tough to have words almost. I mean, it was an exciting, adventurous story, but the philosophy of the ending is what really I will carry with me through the rest of my life. I found it that moving. So what do you think, guys? 4.75. Let me know what you think. My name is John Minton. Thanks so much for joining me here on Talking Story.